Welcome. Today we're going to explore a really powerful practice for cultivating what we call the sunrise self. Now, this isn't about becoming a better, shinier version of yourself. It's actually about creating the space inside for the person you already are to fully emerge. So let's start with a central question. I want you to just hold this gently as we go through this together. What new self is emerging in me? The whole point isn't to force an answer, but to create those internal conditions, what we call the space for becoming, where a really authentic answer can just arise. Okay, so what exactly is this sunrise self? Well, to understand it, we first have to look at a pattern that's super common in personal growth work, and that's the tendency to reject or try to get rid of the parts of ourselves we don't like, our so-called shadows.
And this right here is a really fundamental shift in how we think about growth. The old way is all about aiming for perfection by trying to cut out our flaws. But this practice, it's all about integration. It's about the deep work of acknowledging and even welcoming all parts of ourselves. And that is the true foundation of building your internal authority.
So here's the core idea. The sunrise self isn't some new mask you put on. It's the you that naturally shows up when you stop fighting with yourself. It's what happens when you stop pushing your shadows away and instead you get curious about the hidden potential they might hold, the energy, the insight, even the strength that's locked away in there. And this doesn't just happen by accident. Cultivating this self is a conscious, intentional practice. It's about creating that space for becoming we talked about, allowing this new self to emerge without you having to force it. And honestly, this is the most direct path I know to developing your own internal authority and learning to trust your capacity for discernment. Okay, so we've talked about the what. Now let's get practical and talk about the how. In this section, we're going to walk through a simple, repeatable, 4-step pathway you can use to start connecting with and integrating your sunrise self. So here's the framework, and I want you to notice the flow here. It starts inside with visualization. Then it moves to reflection with journaling. It gets more solid and concrete when you define it, and it all culminates in real-world action. This whole arc is designed to take an insight from just being a cool idea and turn it into something you actually live. So let's break down each step.
Step 1 is a really simple meditation. You just picture yourself walking into a beautiful sunrise. And as you do, you imagine your shadow, all those parts of you that you've rejected, not being burned away by the light, but actually integrating into it. This completely reframes your relationship with your shadow from one of conflict to one of wholeness.
Now, coming out of that quiet, meditative space, you move right into reflection. Step 2 brings us back to that core question. You grab a journal and you just start exploring what new self is emerging in me. The key here is to just capture whatever comes up without any judgment at all. Step 3 is where this emerging self starts to get a little clearer, a little more real. This is a creative practice. You actually give this sunrise self a name, and then you write a detailed description. How does this version of you think? What do they value? How do they carry themselves when they walk into a room? The simple act of defining it gives it form. And finally, step 4. This one is the bridge from your inner world to the outer world. It's a small, tangible action. And this is so important because it's what grounds the entire practice in reality and stops it from just being a nice mental exercise. This brings us to our final section, which is all about this crucial transition. Understanding a concept is great, but living it, that's where true alignment happens. This is the all-important shift from just identifying with an idea to actually taking action on it. Identification requires action. Think about it. You can't fully become this integrated self just by thinking about it. You have to embody it. And insight without action, well, it just stays an abstraction, doesn't it? So what does this action look like? Is it some huge, dramatic gesture? Nope. The practice is to choose just one thing. That's it. The real power here is in its simplicity and its focus. And here's exactly how it works. You pick one small thing to do today. It could be answering an email, having a difficult conversation, making a decision, whatever. And you do that one thing exactly as that sunrise self you just defined would do it. This isn't about performing for anyone. It's a micro practice in what we call upright living. It's a conscious choice, a true act of responsibility over our usual autopilot reactivity. And if you want a little extra help with this, there's a supporting practice you can use called empowered projection. It's simple. It just means taking a moment to visualize yourself moving through your day from this place of integration, where both your shadow and your light are welcome. It's like a mental rehearsal. So we end where we began, but with one crucial little shift. The question is no longer just what is emerging in you, but how. How, in one small, tangible way, will you embody your sunrise self today? Your answer? That's the beginning of the practice.